Just make sure you just give it 3 to 5 minutes of general talk.
Hey folks, I'm just letting everybody in. We'll take a couple of minutes to get started. It's a very exciting live show today with our partners at Lucky Orange. They're going to be sharing their conversion rate optimization strategies. So we'll definitely have a great time. So I'm just letting folks in to come in and start settling in, and we are going to get started in a couple of minutes. So as you're joining the Zoom session, just in the chat, just say where are you connecting from and where did you hear about this live show. So if you could just introduce yourself in Zoom chat and just tell us where are you from and where did you hear about this show. Laura is coming to us from the UK. Amazing. All right. Don't be shy. I see a lot of you in here. So just jump in and start telling us where you're from. Mark is also from the UK, Birmingham. Jim from USA, Arun from Toronto, Vidusha, early stage founder from the UK, mental health space and AI. Very interesting. Dana from San Francisco. Amazing. Okay, and Sean is from Lucky Orange headquarters in Kansas City. Monica from Stamford, Connecticut. So I'll keep an eye out on in the participants panel here so that we can see what we need to do. So just kind of a rules of engagement. Everybody, please mute yourselves so that you know, any kind of background noise or anything like that on your end is not interrupting the presenters. I do see Jim and Susan, your mics are hot still. If you guys can mute yourselves, and you could keep your cameras on, that would be great. And I would like to introduce Sean McCarthy and Molly Stats from Lucky Orange. This is definitely in line with the 8D method that I have authored and the Rapid 2X Accelerator program. I see some of the participants from the Rapid 2Xers are in here. So I, you know, one of the first dimensions that we optimize is performance optimization, and Lucky Orange is definitely a player in that. And then in a later dimension, we optimize the customer UX, which is another one that's another dimension that plays really well into what Sean and Molly are going to share with us today. So I would like to welcome, I'm going to just give the microphone over to them. If some of you know, I'm fighting a cough right now. So the lesser I talk, the better it is. I'm going to hand it off to Sean and Molly for them to do their thing. And then once they're done with the presentation, what I would recommend you guys do is jot down your questions, you know, either on paper or and then when we open it up for questions, then you could include it in, you can put it in through the chat, and then I'll call on you to ask your question. So please be mindful of that. So first is the presentation, and then we go towards the Q&A section. Well, with that, Sean and Molly, welcome to the e-commerce growth mastermind special guest appearance. And
awesome.
Let's make this happen. Let's make it a phenomenal episode.
Thank you for giving us some time today. Can you hear me all right? Okay. Yep. So yeah, super excited to be here. We'll kind of introduce ourselves, and then we're going to go through, I want to keep this as kind of free flowing as possible. We're going to start with a website that reached out the other day and said, hey, I want some quick feedback. I want to start there because it'll help us tee up some common questions that we should be asking about our site. And then we'll jump inside Lucky Orange. We're not going to sales pitch about how to use our tools. So there's plenty of tools that are like ours, but we'll walk through a good amount of how to use the platform and hopefully get some answers to a lot of those common questions. And then, like Sabir mentioned, really want to lean into any questions that people have that we might be able to start pointing in the right direction or even expand conversations elsewhere. So I'm Sean, and I'm the director of brand and content here at Lucky Orange. And really, it's my job to make sure that we're saying the right things to the right people at the right place on behalf of Lucky Orange. And so we are trying to move the conversion rate optimization industry forward. We're trying to build better tools, and we're trying to help people understand that optimizing a website shouldn't actually be an extremely complex thing. There's some really clear methods like the 8D method that can help you think about how to optimize that website to increase orders or whatever you're trying to do. And so we're really excited. This is kind of the perfect storm of an opportunity for us to speak with a group that's trying to scale business and understanding that the website is a core part of that. And I've also got Molly here with me today.
Hi guys, my name is Molly Stats. I'm the Director of Strategic Partnerships here at Lucky Orange. And as Sean was kind of alluding to, Lucky Orange really sits in that sweet spot for an e-commerce business to really understand what's happening on your store, on your storefront, and then take it to the next level. And my role really fits in understanding that we are not the only tool and the only company you're going to be working with as you're trying to scale that e-commerce business. So what connections, what integrations, both technical and from a content standpoint, that can help you really level up what you're trying to do. And a question we get a lot is, what makes Lucky Orange different from other analytics tools? And really we pick up where those analytics tools leave off. So Google Analytics or something like that may tell you at a very high level how people are interacting on your web, or where people are coming to your website from, what pages they're visiting, how long they're staying. But where they really leave off is understanding what happens once you get on the website, how people are interacting with your inventory, what products they're looking at, how they're kind of engaging once you get to your storefront. So my role is really focusing on finding those gaps within our own tool set and also supplementing the work you guys are doing that really sits outside the website. How does Lucky Orange fit into that, and finding those partnerships that align there? So that's really what we want to focus on today, is understanding that, as Sabir mentions, the AD model, we're a part of the bigger journey you guys are on, but how do you narrow in and focus and really get the most bang for your buck when it comes to that website experience?
It looks like, Sabir, could you allow me to share my screen, or whoever is running? It's preventing me from sharing. There we go. Okay. All right. So what I wanted to do, as I mentioned, is start with a real website, an e-commerce store. These folks reached out the other day, as some people do every now and then, and say, look, we've got a site. We're getting some decent traffic from a variety of sources, but we're just really not getting conversions like we want to. And a lot of you may be in a slightly more advanced place in this, but even if you are, I think the questions that we're going to go through still present themselves as we try and scale a business. And so what I did when I came here is I said, okay, we've got some really basic stuff to look at and some really basic questions to answer. This is a one product website. And so I talked to them a lot about, like, okay, well, maybe your homepage is just a conversion blocker. And we'll use that phrase a lot. Stuff that's getting in the way of a conversion. And it may be a common sense thing. It may be a technical issue. And we'll get in within Lucky Orange how to spot these things. But I said, maybe this is a conversion blocker where you have all these CTAs and all this copy and all this stuff here that's really just leading into a click and then to another click. So you're kind of adding a blocker there. I also called out these collapsible descriptions. Sabir may advise to not do this. A lot of people these days are not doing this because people don't click open. They've got a lot of copy in here. And so I gave them some feedback about watching session recordings and studying heat maps to see if people are even engaging with this stuff. Most people that are landing on this website probably don't know what this game is. They probably don't know. They might not want to admit that they need to build intimacy and trust with their partner through a board game. There's all these connections that the website's trying to make for them with all this copy. And so my suggestions were to use tools, including Lucky Orange, to see how people are actually engaging with this website, to prioritize things like your navigation, to see how far down the page on the homepage people are scrolling. These are things we'll look at when we get inside Lucky Orange. And then also, you know, they've got a blog with 3 blog posts. Maybe it doesn't make sense for them to have that there, but if they like that, if it's something they want to have, maybe throw in the footer. And so I'm speaking in like really specific terms here about this specific website, but these are the types of questions that we find people are asking that Lucky Orange can help them answer, which is to say, what are people trying to accomplish on this website? And is the website, you know, is it usable? Can they even find what they're looking for? Well, in this case, it's a 1 product website, so it's pretty darn easy to find the product after you click through something. They're already introducing a conversion blocker, so it's not as easy as it could be. But are they able to find what they want? And then we can look at other things to say, what sort of content are they engaging with that is causing them to convert? We'll look at this inside Lucky Orange, but these drop downs, I want to go back here. This is a good example of something that says, okay, well, what's the thing that people care about when they're on this page that helps them convert? Are they reading this copy here? Are they hovering over this and saying, you know, oh, you've got great customer support. Like, okay, sure, it's a card game. Maybe I don't need that, but maybe people are reading this stuff and you can see that in all these session recordings and say, that's the stuff we need to lean into. Or they might say, you might see in your data that we'll look at, it says everybody that opens this how to play and understands what the game is ends up converting at a higher rate. So the types of things that people care about and that's motivating them to convert is like, okay, now I get how to play this game. So this combination of usability and, you know, motivating people through to the conversion are the types of things that we're going to look at when we jump inside Lucky Orange. What do you think?
Yeah, I will say a couple things here too to keep in mind from the website and that we really key in on when you have a Lucky Orange in place to be able to see the back end is if you scroll down a little bit, Sean, to where they were talking about the guaranteed quality, the accredited bundles, you may try in looking at session recordings or even heat maps that people are actually trying to click into specifically maybe the free shipping one because they want to learn more about your free shipping policies. And we see that a lot of times 75% of e-commerce carts actually get abandoned. That's just like across the industry. That's not good for us, right? And maybe you see that people are clicking on your free shipping or trying to click and they're actually experiencing what we would consider at Lucky Orange a rage click. That may indicate to them that you need to spend more time outlining your shipping policies, your return policies, because as Sean said, that's a conversion blocker. So those are things that I would also key in on as you're going through the website and looking for rage clicks, free shipping. If you also notice people are really lingering on that free shipping in particular, or they're searching and trying to find more about your free shipping or return policy, maybe you need to make that a more prevalent part of that conversion journey to the end. Those are things that you need to look at and can really only see through a session recording or a heat map to really be engaged with there. So that's just something to keep in mind. People may have expectations and you're like, well, of course not. That doesn't make sense to be able to click on that button. But if people are trying to do that, then their expectation is they should be able to. So just because you think it's not something that makes sense, maybe it's something to them that makes sense. So again, just one of those things to key in on the website and the content specifically.
And what we're trying to do here, I mean, everybody's site's going to be different. Everybody's audience is going to be different, but what we'll walk through now inside Lucky Orange, hopefully, is to try and connect the dots between the questions we're asking about the website and how Lucky Orange can help you answer them. One thing before I forget is that in conversation with Sabir previously, Molly's talking about like on the product page, people lingering and whatever. We're lucky if people linger on our website. You know, the attention span of people now is so short that they are, you know, scrolling here. They're saying, okay, do I want this thing or not? And that's another argument against maybe these longer copy sections here. But okay, let's jump into Lucky Orange. We'll kind of demo, walk through everything, and along the way, try and explain how this connects to optimizing your website.
I think it's good to preface this by saying Sean and I, neither one of us are salespeople. We are marketers. We're on the marketing team. So you're going to get the experience not from a sales if we're pitching this to someone, but really like how Sean and I use this every day. We drink our own Kool-Aid. So we're in Lucky Orange every day using it for a variety of different things. So bear with us as far as like the true demo. This may not be your true demo, but this is how we use and interpret Lucky Orange, and also help provide feedback to our product team on, you know, people that are using this in the wild, where we should go and what's next and what would be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so the landing place for everybody inside Lucky Orange when you log in is a dashboard. And so this dashboard has cards that can be moved around. Cool. But basically what it does is it gives you a live look at what's happening on the website. So live visitor snapshot, visitor trends, where they're coming from, your top pages. All this data in here is just fake demo data for what it's worth. Daily trends and, you know, chat ratings and response. We'll jump into funnels a little bit later. That's a cool feature. Browsers. A lot of this data on its own is stuff that you're likely seeing inside something like Google Analytics. The cool thing here is that we can go straight from this dashboard into another part of the app to see, in this case, all the visitors that came to our site from Chrome as the browser. And so on its own, the dashboard is totally cool. You can see these trends. It's a great place to monitor these. But it's powerful because if you see something that looks off or you want to investigate further, you can jump straight in from here into you know, the visitors table and see people that make up that data. Now, why we would do that is because the visitors table, and I call it table, but it's just a list of visitors that are coming to your site, is sort of the jumping off point for one of the core functionalities of Lucky Orange, which is session recordings. So really the way I see it is the two core things within CRO tools like ours are heat maps and session recordings. And we'll look at a heat map in a little bit. A session recording is just a playback of the entire visitor's journey on your website. That includes every page they visited, whatever they clicked on, if they did a drop-down menu, if they chatted, things like that. You'll all see that in a visitor playback. In this case, we'll just go here. We've got this filtered for Chrome. We'll talk about filtering and segmentation in a second. But let's say I want to watch this guy, Philip from Kansas City. We have some key events here, but the session recording looks like this. So it is just a playback of their mouse movements. I'll get my mouse out of the way, of them going around the website. And on the right side here, we see a timeline of events. So one thing Molly called out a little bit ago is a rage click. And so if you have an element that people think they should click, but it's not actually linked to anything, a lot of times what we'll see is a rage click. And so here you can see he rage clicked on something up there a second ago. And what's interesting there is that you can see that he rage clicked on something. If you say, okay, well, is that the only person that ever did that? Or is there a trend here where I need to be a trend of visitors doing this where I need to make an adjustment? That's where filtering and segmentation can come in. And so what we would do is we'd look at events and we would look to see how many people have rage clicked or shaky mouse or whatever the filter might be in here. Again, this is a demo environment. But that way you can filter this table. And so there's not much to work with here inside the demo environment. But if I want to filter by people who are only on my website, or I want to filter by any of these elements, what page they visited, what they landed on, my favorite is UTM parameters. So I can filter which visitors came from a specific traffic source or campaign. And that's really helpful for people who are running paid ads. You'll come in here and you'll say, I've got 10,000 visitors on my website. I'm not watching 10,000 sessions a day. I might have time to watch 10. And so how do I do that? Well, I get really specific with which visitors I want to watch. And a lot of that strategy comes from other areas where we're optimizing things. We say we're really focusing on our TikTok ad creative that's driving people to a landing page or whatever it might be. TikTok might be a good example, but people are coming to this landing page, this product page, but they're not checking out in the way we want. They're not ordering at the rate we want. We will filter down our visitors by either the campaign or the landing page or whatever it might be to get at people who are important based on what we're trying to optimize. So you might already be seeing that Lucky Orange is really a research vehicle. It is as powerful as you can make it, and it's as powerful as your segmentation capabilities are, and it's all readily available in here.
Yeah, I was going to give one kind of real world example on the segmentation because I think what Sean is keying in on is really important. And we have a customer that sells jeans for an example, and it could be sells anything, but they were running a lot of Facebook ads, directing people to their store on these men's jeans. And what they saw is when they watched session recordings and they filtered it by, UTM source of Facebook or just source of Facebook, and all of their Facebook ad copy was promoting these men's jeans. Okay, well, they got them in the door. They actually went in and watched session recordings of people coming from the Facebook and said, okay, how are they engaging? And in the lower section they took them to a specific men's jeans, and then they had a recommended for you section as well. And they were piloting out some new like t-shirt lines, some new shoe lines, and they did the recommended with the jeans. And what they actually noticed is that their Facebook traffic that was coming and looking at their men's jeans ended up more often than not converting on their t-shirt line instead of the men's jeans. Okay, so what do you do with this information? You're spending a bunch of money, you're getting that Facebook audience engaged, but maybe that ad copy, maybe that the visuals in your Facebook ads should really be focused on that shoe line or that t-shirt line that they're actually converting on. And then the jeans become kind of that secondary pull in there. So that, again, that's just a real world example of you can really take that segmentation, use a session recording and say, okay, now what do I do about this? What do I do about this is I update my Facebook ads to really impact that campaign and hopefully convert and get those items that the Facebook audience care about in front of them more easily and attract them that way. So I will say that's just, it's great to segment, whatever the case may be. That's how it informs everything from, what you're showing on the website to what kind of inventory you're offering to what you're showing in your Facebook ads. So I wanted to highlight in on that for a second.
I think that's an important point that, without session recordings, without the qualitative data of watching people go, in that specific example, go through the website, you might say, we're spending ad money on promoting one product and we're seeing a lift in sales on another product. Without watching people on the page, you can probably come up with a decent guess of what's happening. Oh, they're going to the other section lower in the page or whatever it was, and they're finding that. With the session recording, you can confirm exactly what they're doing, and you can see examples of exactly what they're doing. This is supremely helpful if you're a one-person team, but it's also helpful if you're a bigger team or if you're a growing team to come up with a creative change or to run an A/B test or whatever it might be within the organization. I need proof, and I can come through with a session recording and say, here's all these people that we're sending to this page that are buying this other product. It's a really good proof point to share with people. So session recordings there, hopefully that makes sense. We can obviously answer any questions later on it too. The other tool that I mentioned, we're going to skip communicate for a second and go into analytics and straight to heat maps. And so what we get in when we see heat maps is just a list of top pages, which makes it helpful to jump into. You can also just search for any page on your website here, and it'll bring it up, again, with the ability to filter by anything you want, date range, whatever. So we'll launch the heat maps. Okay. Well, that might not work right now. Let's see.
Your different page, not the login page.
Oh, hold on. I can't change. How do I get this out of the way?
Well done.
Yeah. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Nothing like a live demo in a demo environment that we don't use.
With non-demo people.
All right. So what we're looking at here is a heat map. At a super duper high level, heat maps represent clicks, moves, and scrolls on a page. So in this case, I've got the heat map for clicks selected, and it's a great place to start. It shows where people are clicking on the page. I'll go through these and then come back around and talk a little bit more about them. Moves is where the mouse movement is happening on the page. All right. In many cases, this will be similar to a click, but it's a really good indicator of on-click hovering and stuff like that. And then the third heat map type. And again, these are Lucky Orange heat maps that we're looking at, but it's very similar in many ways to a lot of heat map solutions that you'll see out there. We'll see if this will load inside this environment. The scroll heat map simply shows how far down the page people are scrolling. One key thing on the scroll heat map is what we call the effective fold, which is basically the point on the page where 50% of people have scrolled. And so it's a great judge of what's the average visitor seeing on this page. If this would load, let's say that the effective fold is here. Okay, well, that means the average visitor is not seeing these G2 badges. There we go. The effective hold is here, right? So that means that 50% of people are not seeing this stuff. 25% of people or 75% of people aren't seeing the fact that we are GDPR compliant. This is a great tool, especially when you're comparing different content links. I also like using this on mobile because, as we know, attention spans are so short that when we can use this on mobile, it's a great indicator of how long a page can be, how much real estate you have to get your point across.
Yeah, I was going to say a couple different ways in like my role. I would personally use heat maps and thinking about the e-commerce world. So you don't know how many e-com websites Sean and I look at, and we check out the effective fold, and the first CTA on the website is below the effective fold. So you're telling me someone can't even get your CTA, can't even purchase the jeans, can't even, purchase the jewelry, whatever. 50% of people don't get in that point on the website. Like, holy moly, get that CTA first thing so everyone sees it, get that up on the page. So I would say from an e-commerce website, that's really important. Also, if you're trying to decide what products to feature in the main navigation and you're trying, experimenting with, should we put the shoes, jeans, and t-shirts up there, or should we feature men's and women's jewelry? What is it? Whatever that looks like, this is how you trial that out. You put them in the main navigation and you quickly can see, yeah, everyone's clicking on this or everyone's not clicking on that. It doesn't mean that that product may not be important, or maybe it does mean that product's not important and it's heavy and you should consider, your line reduction there. Those are things to consider there. Also, cart items of higher AOV, so your higher average order value, putting those in a more prominent location to get people to buy more. Those are things you can use in heat maps to see if people are engaging with, but my goodness, make sure that the CTAs are above the effective fold. It's low hanging fruit. It's a give me, it's a layup when it comes to e-commerce store on using a heat map. Scrolls can also change. So just when you think you figured out the perfect main navigation, just when you think you figured out the perfect design, the industry changes, the trends change, people change, the seasonality of things. So Black Friday, Cyber Monday, do you sell backpacks and it's back to school season? It all changes. So just when you have it figured out, you don't keep, that's why tools like this are important to keep in place in the long term and not just for the short sale of a project or initiative you're doing.
Right. Yeah. And especially as you make adjustments to a product or to messaging, or as you expand product lines and you start to learn more about your customers and understand what they're looking for and you test messaging, it's going to be really important to use heat maps to make sure that the same stuff is resonating with them. If we think back about that card game website, what I would use a heat map for, again, is looking at those collapsible product description elements and say, are people clicking on that? We would easily be able to tell if it had clicks on it or if it didn't based on a view like this. A couple of other things while we're in here. So as you see, as I hover over elements, it's providing a number and a percentage. Basically what that is it's ranking where on the page this is ranked as far as top clicked elements. And so I can switch over to or open up the element analytics thing here. And basically this ranks out the top elements on each page. This is really helpful for when you have multiple CTA buttons, or if you have a longer page with a variety of different elements. Back to Molly's example of suggested products or maybe product bundling things there, you might want to compare which elements getting clicked on more. Also within this, we call these dynamic heat maps as opposed to just regular heat maps. And so if I hit shift, can't even see through here, and I open this, I can see what the clicks are on the menu items. And I can actually navigate through here and see on menu dropdowns, form pop-ups, and maybe some other stuff where you can see the heat map engagement there, which is good if you have more dynamic elements on your page. The other thing too, a lot of our websites and e-commerce are going to be mobile first when it comes to the types of traffic, the amount of traffic we get. There's a quick change over here for device type. Tablets available as well. If you're targeting some sort of specific device type, or if you're having some sort of technical issue with some sort of specific device that has a unique height and width, you can also change that here. And then, the same functionality applies with the scroll and the clicks and all the different things here. One other part of this would be what we call form analytics. This is a tough page to show this on because there's not a true checkout form or something with multiple fields. But form analytics is going to show you some key form analytics, but it's stuff like which field is causing the most repeat entries, which field is taking, or how long until they start filling out the form after they've landed on the page. And a variety of the form analytics.
Yeah,
metrics.
the abandonment,
Abandonment, yeah. So which field, while somebody is filling it out, is the one that they abandon from. And again, you can look at that in heat maps, and then we can also go through and watch session recordings of the people who have abandoned the form and say, what might be happening there? There's obviously a lot of optimization to be done around forms. If you're on Shopify, it may be a little challenging unless you're Shopify Plus to optimize that checkout form itself. If you're on another platform that has some more flexibility, there's a lot of work we can do with form field order, or even just form fields in general. If it's something, a lot of times we'll advise people to keep those forms as simple as possible. They want to ask questions that help them onboard people, or whatever it might be, that help enroll people in their rewards program. Maybe we should ask about that later on and maybe not prioritize that in the immediate checkout process. Molly, anything else before we leave from heat maps?
No, yeah, I think you covered it. And just piggyback on what you said from the form standpoint, one of the things a lot of e-commerce brands I know specifically struggle with is they want to collect from like a newsletter, and they want to get you on mailing lists to give you special discounts. And you'll say, okay, yeah, great. I want to get your guys' special discounts. And I put in the email, and then I go and a required field is a phone number. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Don't want to give you my phone number. I just want to get the email list. You can see that on form analytics that people are abandoning at that thing. Just a suggestion to make as you're thinking about an e-commerce website, don't ask, like Sean was saying, for information you don't need right off the bat. We see using form analytics a ton. People abandon it when they start to feel a little leery, or your ask for a phone number is not related to what they're actually expecting to get. So form analytics can be a really powerful thing as you think about, signing up for loyalty programs, mailing newsletters, even on the checkout. There's a lot to be done with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just before we leave, you can segment based on UTMs. Which is interesting. We'll see a lot of times a huge difference in click performance or scroll performance based on traffic source or based on campaign. I personally use this with a lot of our PPC landing pages, where I'll say, this is a great indicator of if our ad copy is aligning with our landing page copy. So I'll filter by the campaign, or sometimes by content, and I'll say, if people are reading this page and they're engaging with the content on this page, sure, if they're signing up, that matters. But if they're really digging into this page and I can watch session recordings and heat maps, then I know that we're in alignment there. But if people are bouncing immediately, we might as well be saying in the ad, get your free iPad, click here, and then a landing page talking about Lucky Orange tools. And it just doesn't make sense. So it's another thing to say, is there a cohesive experience happening here? A lot of this data, a lot of the sort of aha moments that you'll have inside Lucky Orange inform strategy elsewhere, and before and after kind of engaging with Lucky Orange, it can help provide that qualitative data. The other part that I wanted to talk then about was our communication tools, which we talked about usability, and using session recordings and heat maps to see if people can find what they want to find on your website, can use your site search, can scroll, can see images properly, can get to your shipping information, and can ultimately check out. But there's a whole other branch of CRO that would be about, like I mentioned earlier, what's motivating them to purchase here? What are their wants? What are their needs? Maybe do they have ideas for you for certain products to sell? That's really where surveys can come in. And we do offer a pretty lightweight survey tool. Let's say we want to ask people about, actually, we'll ask them about payment methods. And so we can come in here. I might build out a survey that just asks people what's their preferred payment method. I know that it's a big deal for e-commerce stores to offer something like Shop Pay or PayPal, or whatever your payment methods are. It can be a huge lift if you're offering the proper payment method that people want to have. a whole host of survey types that you could build out for people, get quick feedback if they're finding what they need. How did you hear about us? All sorts of survey opportunities to learn what they think about your website, what they think about your product. You go through, and you can also set up specific triggers. So back to like the segmentation being the unlocking thing here. Again, you can come in and you can obviously serve it on certain pages, but you can also target, by different device types, and then scroll depth if they have a certain event. So let's say we've only got one available in here, but let's say I want to send a survey to everybody who clicks on a certain button on the website. You can get as specific as that. We can launch a survey that says, hey, it looks like you're having questions about our shipping information or whatever. Is there anything we can clarify there? We can offer them a survey that can help get at what they are trying to accomplish on the site. Some basic stuff here, like how long do you want to deliver it? And then before you go live, you get a preview. We've not filled anything out here, but you get a preview of how the survey will look on the page.
One really cool example, I think, of an e-commerce store that we've worked with before, they sold like specialty fishing lures, and they were getting a bunch of traffic. They seemed to have their advertising, like they were advertising on Instagram. They seemed to be getting a lot of traffic drawn in because they'd really found their niche audience of who they were going after. But people weren't checking out, and they seemed to be spending a lot of time on their website searching for a very specific lure. And the e-commerce store came to us and was like, we don't understand, they're spending a lot of time on our site, they are coming to us in droves, but no one's checking out. And we said, well, why don't you ask your customers what they're looking for on your site? Just say, what are you looking for on their site? And what they found is they were looking for this vintage lure. So all these people were looking for these like old school lures specifically coming to the site. What did they start to do? They looked at their inventory, they started to procure vintage lures, and they actually did some coupling with some newer lures and vintage lures, and sales took off. So it was simply just asking, what do you want to see? Your customers a lot of times are going to tell you. And for those who don't tell you, I don't know how many times I've been at a restaurant and you're like, the food's not that good, and the waiter comes over and they're like, how's your food today? And you're like, oh yeah, it's great, because someone asked me. But then if someone was watching me at the restaurant, they'd see I'm picking out the capers and I'm pushing this to the side and I'm making a weird face as I'm chewing the steak. Sometimes what people don't tell you, their actions speak for. So that's a good coupling with surveys, will be there and good for the people that are willing to speak up and say, hey, yeah, I want the vintage lures. But for the people that aren't willing to speak up, not going to answer your surveys, that's where the session recordings come in, and they're actually showing you what they're thinking of your website and how they're navigating it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I've been talking a lot about behavioral analytics recently, and I came across a quote that said behavior is communication. And so in lieu of a specific survey response, that's where we come in with the behavioral tools and see, are people clicking on this thing? If they're clicking on this thing, they're interested in it. If they're not and they're scrolling past it, they're either interested in something below it or they're just not interested in it at all. And so that's where that comes in. These surveys, how I view these, are kind of like as a lightweight, in the moment, quick response tool. This isn't a customer interview, and this isn't the platform to really, really challenge people to say, to Molly's point, why did you move the capers aside, right? This isn't like a user interview sort of scenario, but I will say that's extremely important. And so the best practice is to offer these quick feedbacks, these quick idea surveys, but then also trying to go after with complete other conversation, completely other tools to really sit down and do visitor interviews, customer interviews. It is challenging to get people on the phone. It is challenging to get people to do that. Incentivization works really well. The best chance you have is to interview somebody that has already purchased. It's really hard to interview somebody that landed on your site and didn't buy anything. They have really great experience. And they had some sort of experience where they didn't check out. What we talk about a lot with surveying in that regard with those user interviews is that people purchased from you for 5 different reasons, 10 different reasons. But people didn't purchase from you for a multitude of reasons. And so really by that, I mean, they bought from your product because they've purchased from you before, or they really liked the sizing options. Something about what you offered specifically resonated with them. The person who didn't check out might have had to run and go do an errand. They might have had to go to the bathroom. Their computer battery might have died. They might, whatever it might be, there's a multitude of things there. And so of course we want to work to understand why people aren't checking out and why they aren't buying from us. But starting even with some serious conversations with people to learn what ended up helping them get over that conversion line to buy from you can be really, really enlightening. And then basically what we try and do is get more of that traffic to believe in that, get more of that traffic to understand that your product is the best solution for their need. Again, not what you're using our survey tool for, but very important when it comes to optimization and likely a part of the 8D method there. We've got some other communication features, but I did want to mention that there's a lot of chat tools in the marketplace. One of the things that makes Lucky Orange special is that, of course, you're subscribing for heat maps and session recordings, but we also throw in tools like chat. Our chat tool works really well. It works on a lot of different websites. I don't know anything specifically about it that's problematic, but I mentioned earlier that you can target a survey for people based on a specific action on the website. Similarly, you can do that with chat. And so a lot of the ways we see people deploy this on an e-commerce site, specifically small e-commerce teams who are looking to spot issues in the site, who are looking to better communicate with their customers, you can set up an auto invite for chat based on on-site behavior. A classic example of this is if we see somebody who's going onto the shipping information page, you might send an auto invite chat that says, hey, do you have any questions about our shipping? And if they respond to it, you can get a ping. Inside here, you can get there's like a noise it'll make, or it'll alert you in a pop-up and says, hey, somebody has a question about your shipping. And that's a great way to, one, collect those questions that people are having about your website. It can lead to other conversations. But if they're asking questions about shipping, you can have a chat with them there quickly. Obviously, this can quickly get out of control if you have thousands of people, hundreds of people, thousands of people coming to your website every day with questions. And that's a different thing to solve for. But we see a lot of people having success with chat auto invites where they can provide that support, where they can say, it looks like you might be having an issue because you've been on this page for so long, or you've bounced back and forth between certain pages, or you've clicked this thing several times. Whatever that sign of struggle might be, you can pop a chat to them and really try and solve their problem live in the moment.
Yeah, I will say a couple of things, advice, if you will, to e-commerce stores. You don't have to have chat on all the time. Like, there are no rules that say you have to have chat on 24/7, 7 days a week. If you have 2 hours and you want to throw chat on quick to be available during what you know is a busy time for your customers, or like we saw on the dashboard, your busiest times are 10 a.m. to noon on Wednesdays, and you want to pop on for 2 hours to be available, great, do that. Like, there's no expectation that you have to be on 24/7 to just have chat on. The second thing I'll say about that too is the struggle e-commerce stores have in comparison to a brick and mortar counterpart is if I'm in a brick and mortar store and I'm trying on a pair of jeans, or if I want to know if you have a different size, I can walk up to a sales associate and say, hey, Sarah, do you have a different size of these jeans you can offer me? Or do you recommend that I wear these shoes with these jeans? And you can get that real-time dialogue and feedback. E-commerce stores have a struggle there, and having an option like chat on your website allows that barrier of entry or hesitation to purchase or anxiety about a product or shipping or return policies to be eliminated by being able to have that interaction with a real person. So I will say that's something to consider. And again, that uphill battle as you fight, but you don't have to have it on all the time. There's ways within Lucky Orange to set up away forms or chat forms that submit within Lucky Orange to allow you to get those messages when you're back online, or to let the people know, hey, we'll reach out in the next business day. So again, chat doesn't have to be an end all be all strategy, but it can help you supplement if you're seeing people struggling in certain areas of your website and allowing that real life person to come in there.
Yeah, and support visibility can be a differentiator, especially if you're a newer, smaller, lesser known brand where you are getting people to the site through great creative, but they're just not so sure if they should trust you yet. So we can put reviews. That's a powerful thing to have on the website. But having a chat, even if you're not sitting there waiting for people to chat at you, having that availability, having that nice pop to say, hey, is there anything we can help you with today? Can be something certainly to test. It's a low risk thing to just turn on. And have on, desktop and mobile and everything, have it available. Even just that potential support can increase conversion rates. A couple other things to look at here. So similarly, we also offer an announcements feature. And so an announcement basically looks similar to, a chat pop-up. They can be displayed in the corner. They can be displayed as a more obtrusive takeover over the middle of the page. A lot of times we'll see people who want to promote a certain product collection or a discount code that they want people to use. Again, these aren't like the world-class leading solutions in these verticals. This isn't the pop-up tool to end all pop-up tools, but it is a differentiator from our standpoint, because we can say you're watching session recordings and you're seeing that people from this segment are behaving in a specific way. Put an announcement in front of them and see what happens. And you can watch session recordings of them before, during, and after they engage with that announcement to see if it changes their behavior and see if it changes the outcomes there. So that kind of is another tool that just lives inside of here. Chat invites is what we were talking about earlier. And there's some other chat centric features here, as you might imagine. Chat tools have a lot of data around them. You can set permissions. So that's a key thing for a lot of teams. You can invite people to the team who only have access to chat, which oftentimes makes sense for people because it's like they don't need access to session recordings and heat maps and stuff like that. When we go back in through here, I don't want to skip anything. So heat maps, form analytics, we covered that. Excuse me. Elements, a lot of this stuff is just baked into the heat maps, but this will show you your most active elements, and then you can watch sessions for people who are engaging with those specific elements. One thing we haven't touched on yet would be conversion funnels. Now, the phrase conversion funnel means something that we probably understand. It's like awareness, consideration, yada, yada, yada. This is a very specific take on a conversion funnel. And so inside Lucky Orange, you can build something that says, did they, in this example, did they go to a product page? Did they add to cart? And then was there a transaction? And we can see simply, okay, 190, 80, there's drop off there. This is a really simple example, but what we see people using this for, and Molly, you might have some examples here too, because I know we build some of these out for Shopify specifically. We can see completion rate, largest drop off, which a lot of people go through. And then again, this is a means to get to a filtered list of visitors. There's nothing in here as a demo environment, but this view here would look similar to what we see the visitors table. And you'd be able to click in and watch somebody who went through a certain part of this funnel or all of it. What else am I missing about conversion funnels?
Yeah, I think the main thing is this is a good hypothesis way to determine if a hypothesis is true or false. So if you say we have a lot of people fall off and not convert after they add the shoes to our cart, and then we see them fall off from the add to cart and then they don't check out. Can you go in there and key and say, this specific step in my conversion funnel is having problems? Is there a broken button on the page? Is there text missing? Is there confusion back to the shipping? So it helps you kind of go to those hypotheses and say, I think there's a problem here. This helps me show that there is or is not a problem in this stage. So while this doesn't say, here's all the paths people took to get to conversion or checkout, if you have a specific path in mind, you want to see someone go to the home page, to the pricing page, to a product page, and then check out, you can understand their journey through there. So it doesn't get as free reign as just however they got there, but it does allow you to test out some theories and confirm some hypotheses you may or may not have at different steps. Sean did mention we have paths and conversions if you're on Shopify that we have pre-built out. So day one of Lucky Orange, you'll have some pre-built funnels for you, so you don't even have to think about it. This is based on our experience with tens of thousands of websites, especially on Shopify, and their experience, what we think they should be keying on within that too.
Yeah. And I think one note before there's a couple other things I want to show in here, but a lot of this can sound and feel and look overwhelming. As I mentioned before, Lucky Orange is a research vehicle. And so that means you have to come into it with some understanding of what you're looking for or some understanding of what to do with it. The future of Lucky Orange, the future of CRO tools, and my job and a lot of Molly's job is to make it easier. And so what we're going to be doing over the course of however many years moving forward is making these tools as easy as possible for people to use. But for the time being, I really, really think that the best way to approach this is to just think about your business in general and say, what are the most important parts of my audience? Is it Facebook ads? Okay, well, if I'm getting the majority of my traffic from Facebook ads, let's look at session recordings from Facebook ads. Is there a subsegment there based on UTM parameter again? Is there a certain group that I want to focus on? Did I just launch a new product collection? Okay, great. Well, let's watch session recordings of people going through that product collection. Let's look at a heat map for that product collections page. We're running an A/B test on our product collections page. We're changing how the images appear or how the pagination works. Okay, great. Let's start there and watch session recordings and heat maps for that. And so using this as a means to back up other work you're doing is the best way to get started within CRO tools. The other thing I wanted to hit on here before we go through settings, nobody cares about settings, but the one thing that does matter, and I don't know if this is an up-to-date list, is integrations. And so this is Molly's area within the app specifically. I think there's a couple that aren't in here, but Molly, if you want to talk a little bit about sort of the power of integrations and then give some examples maybe of how people would be able to use some of these specifically.
So I'm sure many of you, if you're not on these platforms, or at least familiar with them being on the e-commerce space, but BigCommerce and Shopify. So it would make sense and seem obvious probably to most of us on the call this afternoon that Lucky Orange only works if you place a tracking code, right? We can't just like magically know what's happening on your website if you don't. Sometimes that's a barrier to entry for people. So we've created a handful of integrations through Square, through BigCommerce and Shopify that allow you one-click install. It automatically places a Lucky Orange tracking code on your website. That makes it easier. You can get started tracking right away because again, you can't get the information in Lucky Orange if you don't have the tracking code placed. More benefits to that, and specifically in Shopify, for those of you on Shopify or Shopify Plus, know that Shopify checkout is, best in class. They spend a lot of time. We've curated very specific integration with Shopify that allows you to really check the events that are happening on the checkout page, because that's what matters, right? If people are checking out or not, what is leading them up, what events are leading them up to checkout or to not checking out. So there's very bespoke with both BigCommerce and Shopify events that we pass in, information that we pass in based on your store to help you understand what's going on on that store. There's a handful of other integrations, and yeah, Sean's right, this specific list is out to date, but on our website, like a HubSpot, and e-commerce may or may not be using this, but can understand what people are engaging with on their website, and we pass over information. One of the integrations I also like to call out that's really important is, I'm not sure who doesn't have Google Analytics anymore on their store or site, but Google Analytics, if you've already set up your Google Analytics instance and it's all perfect and you love all your events, pass those events into Lucky Orange, and it's a one-click, toggle the events on, they'll start passing into your Lucky Orange. And vice versa, if you have events that you already set up in Lucky Orange, you can pass those into Google Analytics. So we understand and never claim to be the end-all be-all of the marketing tech stack of CRO optimization tools. We understand there's other ones out there. So we have built integrations with those individuals, those platforms we feel like make the biggest bang for your buck and give you the full picture of what's happening on your website. E-commerce is our bread and butter. We have tens of thousands of e-commerce websites every day using tools like Lucky Orange. So you'll see a lot of our integrations are focused on that area, but there are ones kind of across the spectrum. And we're always looking to add more and different angles. So that's where we like to hear directly from our customers to say, hey, it'd really be nice if this integration could do this, or if there's this net new integration, have you guys looked into that? So exciting things on the roadmap from an integration standpoint. Hopefully should have more open capabilities by this summer to be able to allow people to hook in anywhere. But I think that's something really important to call out. It's a part of our strategy as a business. We know we can't do this alone. We know you guys don't do your CRO optimization efforts with just one tool. So, and as a part of the AD method, there's so many more tools and things you need to have the complete picture. So we realize that, and it's a part of the work we do and keeps me in a job every day.
Yeah. I just realized that this site that we're using doesn't have the most recent release that we've made. that goes to my point about making Lucky Orange and CRO tools easier. So I've switched over. This is a store that we use, fake Shopify store that we use for like product screenshots and stuff. So there's not going to be any data in here, but I wanted to show before we, Molly and I shut up, is Lucky Orange Discovery. So this is something that we've recently released that I'm really excited about. This is like phase one of us saying, let's get you to the information inside Lucky Orange that you want to see faster. So when you click Discovery, this is available. This button up here shows up anywhere inside the app. You click Discovery, you see optimization opportunities. Optimization opportunities by name, you understand what it means, but these are a result of us saying, what are the questions? What are the types of people that, and examples of behaviors that people really need to see and want to see on their website? It's a small list for now. We have grand plans of growing and advancing this tool over the years and over the I guess the remainder of 2024 even, but just starting even by saying, show me people who converted, show me what people who converted did on my site. Okay, cool. We come over here. It tells you what it's going to do. So it's going to take you to the visitors section or the visitors table, show you a list of session recordings of people who converted. So you don't have to go to the visitors table and filter and segment and do all this stuff and learn how to do that. You click this button, you come over here and say, okay, these sessions will show visitors who triggered the Shopify order event, because this is a Shopify store. So it knows there's an event for people who converted. So we click discover. Again, there's not going to be data in here, but it takes us to this visitors table that's pre-filtered by people who converted and have the ordered event. This is a great first step for a lot of people who are just getting into Lucky Orange, just getting into audience segmentation, and just getting into website optimization in general, to see the types of people that are, the types of audience segments that are on their site. My recommendation, if you end up using this, is to come in here, you'll click on Discover, you'll find this filtered view of the visitors table, and then hone it in for exactly what you want to look at. So let's say UTM, I don't know if it's going to populate anything here. Okay, there's no visitors, so I can't add any filters. Add a filter. Okay, great. Add a filter. And then I want to come in here and I'm going to add a new segment, and it's going to be this segment that I've saved here. And then every time I log back in, that segment will show up under custom segments. So I can come through and filter and see exactly what I want to see. I want to see people who ordered from my site and landed on this page, I think is what the filter was. So Discovery is kind of like our most recent shiny toy that we've released. And we think that it's a great way to start getting people in good habits of how to use Lucky Orange, and start to understand the segments that are within their website. So,
and candidly, what they should be caring about most, right? If you don't even have a starting point, you're like, I have no idea where to start. We do. We've seen tens of thousands of websites every day, e-commerce websites. We know what you should be caring about. Now, are we going to tell you exactly what to do about it? Each website and each business and each store is so unique. So therein lies a nuance that your expertise would come in. But we know where to start. We know the direction to point you in to start seeing, helping people that didn't convert move to the path of conversion, or creating more of the people that did convert well in your store.
Yeah. All right. That's probably enough of Lucky Orange. So I'm going to stop sharing. And, anytime beyond now, Molly and I are both active on LinkedIn. So if there's any other questions that extend beyond today's Q&A and today's session, we're happy to continue the conversation. But yeah, thanks for giving us the time and for listening. And again, Sabir, for giving us a platform to share our take.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Molly. We have some questions. So I'll ask the audience to just post your questions in the Zoom chat. So I'll ask them from Sean and Molly, and I have my own set of questions which I'll ask at the tail end.
Great.
So I'll call it the lightning round.
Oh
no.
boy!
Scary.
As long as it's like the burnout round during my workouts or something, that leaves me.
No. This is not like one of those cycling things. It's not.
Okay, good. Okay, I don't need
go. No, it's not gonna be that. Can you unmute? I accidentally muted you.
We're back.
Sorry about that. So we have a question here from Dana. She asked actually several questions. I'll ask them one at a time. Can surveys be based on exit intent?
The short answer is no. So that is one limitation of our survey tool, is that it's all going to be based on on-site behavior, segmentation, stuff like that, time on page. So exit intent is not a feature that we have. It's on the proverbial like list, not a roadmap. But I highly recommend, and Sabir, I'd welcome your take as well, but testing that out. Historically, it's been something that performs well.
Excellent. Okay. So are you going to show us how you verified your hypothesis around the issues on the game website you originally showed us?
So we don't have access to their Lucky Orange account. That's something when I came in here that I was going to try and track down, was access to their data. But yeah, what I would do though is watch session recordings to see how people are engaging with those collapsible blocks on the product page. Watch and maybe set up a conversion funnel to say, if people are landing on the homepage, are they actually going to the product page? And then watch which part of that page is moving them forward and things like that. But yeah, we don't have the actual data for that business on hand.
So one thing I want to share with you, anything that's a drop down, right? A collapsible block, a drop down option box confuses the hell out of consumers. That's my 25 years of experience, right? If you can avoid it, like if you can take that data out, maybe you need to prioritize it. Information hierarchy matters, right? How do you prioritize your information and where is it needed? Remember, Sean, you and I discussed on your podcast the 1.7 seconds of consumer attention span, in 2024, right? How much content can you really consume? How your eyes can consume in 1.7 seconds? And anything that you're writing a love sonnet on your landing pages, nobody's reading it,
Yeah.
So it's better to give them chunks of it in small, what I call micro commitments, right? Get that micro commitment from the consumer. As long as you're giving them that information, you're getting that yeses in 1.7 seconds, over that period. So any kind of drop down, like even for variations, better to do boxes, because most ecom sites nowadays, 70 to 80% of their traffic and conversion comes from mobile. So when you have a drop down, that's just a bad UX altogether. It just confuses people. So let's keep going. Where can we find out more about how integrating with analytics can be helpful?
Yeah, and I'll jump in there on that and maybe clarifying question. If you want to jump in and just to clarify from a Lucky Orange perspective, if you're looking to integrate, it's as simple. We have information on our website, but it really is as simple as going within inside Lucky Orange, clicking on the toggle for our integration, and we actually have the capability to detect if Google Analytics is on your website, and the information will start passing between. So from a Lucky Orange standpoint, very straightforward. I would say there's a lot of information out there, and Donna, I can follow up with you after this as well too, if you want to drop your email in the chat specifically about some resources on GA and the power of GA and what that what that looks like and why it's important in e-commerce. Sure, I'm sure.
What information
Sabir,
do we pass over?
I'm trying to.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I'm trying to understand is what's the benefit of the integration. I know how to use Google Analytics, and I know
sure.
I'm learning how to use Lucky Orange. I have both. What's the benefit of connecting them?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really great question. So kind of what we were alluding to earlier, as far as the events, you probably already set up your events in Google Analytics, the things you care about, your conversion events, your page visited, things like that. If you want to segment off of any of those with inside Lucky Orange, so let's say you just want to see the people that completed this Google Analytics event, whether it's a converted event, whether it's, visited these pages, visited these products, you can segment by those events with inside Lucky Orange. You can also action surveys or announcements off of those Google Analytics events. So having those called out and the key events you can see within your visitors profile just helps you have a better understanding of those visitors and their events they're completing, and seeing those inside of Lucky Orange.
Yeah, I think we have help docs specifically about the types of events that can be passed between Google Analytics and Lucky Orange, but it really is an events-driven relationship.
Yep.
Similar to how Molly was talking about with Shopify, there are some checkout related events that we get inside Lucky Orange from Shopify that say they started checkout or they finished checkout. This would be kind of like that same idea with events that you have created inside Google Analytics that you can pass over.
So it's only if like you already have like it's a pretty sophisticated use of Google Analytics, right? To create.
I will say that is the case, but also if you turn on the integration, the events you see in Lucky Orange will pass over into Google Analytics too. So you have the events you like to look at in Lucky Orange, Rage Click, things like we were talking about earlier. Those will pass into your Google Analytics instance as well. So you can see those if you're doing other, data analysis within Google Analytics.
Or you could even create segments for targeted campaigns on
Yep.
with Google products too, based on those that are not available typically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's go for the next one. How did those jeans and games stores get personalized recommendations from you? Is that available to any subscriber, or is it an extra charge?
Yeah, it's they DM'd me on LinkedIn. And I had time between projects. So we don't have a bolt-on service method or anything that's, like an upsell. What I will say though is, and I'm looking ahead at maybe what our next question might be, one of our best assets, I believe firmly as a company, is our support team. And so if you reach out to our support team and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, I want to know how to use Lucky Orange to improve this part of my website, they will help you. And they sit right out here. So if they don't help you, let me know and I will go knock them on the back of the head. But so there's no specific program available for that. But if you want thoughts, DM us on LinkedIn and we're happy to take a look and, maybe give some ideas just based on, they won't be as well-informed as something that you'll get from Sabir, but just at a cursory glance, we would give you some ideas.
So excellent. So we have 22 minutes for the lightning round, right?
Wow.
So you guys are ready?
Was there one more maybe about the difference between Hotjar and Lucky Orange?
Oh yeah, I thought
okay.
that, okay. What's the difference between Hotjar and Lucky Orange?
There's a lot in our industry. There's a lot of feature parity.
Does your founder have hair?
Lots of hair.
Yeah.
That's a one big difference between Neil Patel and your founder.
That's true.
That's it. Call it. There's a lot of feature parity for the average user. A heat map is generally heat map. A session recording is generally session recording. A lot of the filtering and segmentation capabilities are very similar. I'm not exactly sure what the integration differences are, but we do have some really, really powerful integrations. And I can let Molly chime in on that. Our support team being readily available and stuff is a difference. Some of the other core differences would be around pricing. As I mentioned, our core package is all of those features we mentioned today. Hotjar does bucket out surveys and maybe something else, so you have to subscribe separately there. But when you say, is Lucky Orange like Hotjar? Yes, it's very much like Hotjar, and it'd be a good research tool to figure out what's going on with your visitors on your site.
Yep. So are you guys ready? I mean,
ready.
That was another minute, so that now you have 21 minutes.
Oh my gosh, bring it on, Sabir.
And by the way, and the way I do things, as you guys have gotten to know me, right? Everything is data driven. And Lucky Orange, with Lucky Orange as a tool, I'm a kid in a candy store, It makes my job so much easier. I mean, that it has been for years now, right? And the way I prioritize these questions, I did it with the highest impact, positive impact on your revenue and conversion rate and down. So, but all 10, I have just 10 questions, and all 10 are like really high impact. So this would be a very good list to go through so that our audience can get actionable items from this so that they can go and subscribe to Lucky Orange and start implementing these changes. So number one, what are some effective strategies for optimizing product pages to increase add to cart rates and reduce cart abandonment? You know that you touch product page. In fact, the first task in Rapid 2X is optimizing your product page. That's what we touched because we know that that's where everything lands, right? If you don't get that right, and it's good that I had my microphone on mute when you were going through that game site. I was already analyzing and I wanted to make changes to that site.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. One really specific thing that I think is worth testing is product images. We'll talk about that for a second, but product images with product feature callouts on it. You're taking up a lot of space with a product image. And so just a product image with a bunch of white background behind it, you're taking up a lot of space. So consider having product images with little call outs. So if it's a shoe with a special type of lace, maybe have a couple pieces of copy or a small piece of copy there with an arrow or whatever it might be. The other thing on product pages would be, as Sabir mentioned earlier, stop using collapsible product descriptions, and then really, really understand where that effective fold is, how far down the page people are scrolling, and prioritize that information that really matters. Based on surveys, based on your understanding of your visitors, if they care about the product being dairy-free, that's very different than if they care about the product not having milk. And so be very hyper-specific about your product description and make sure that not only is it encouraging them to convert, it's also overcoming those objections and those concerns that they might have about the product.
All right, let's move to the second one. And before I go to that, what you said about above the fold and below the fold. So my next question has to do with mobile optimization, right?
Mm-hmm.
I see so many ecom sites when you get to that product page where the action happens, right? Where you get the conversion, right? That they have so much stuff on that before the swipe up a little bit, right? That there's nothing actionable there, right? The add to cart is missing, right? And most of it is symptom of mobile optimized site, not a mobile first site, right? That's the first thing. So the question is, mobile optimization is crucial for e-commerce success. Like if it's 80% of your revenue, that's the business you're in, so that you have to you have to focus on that first, not on your desktop necessarily, right? So what are some key strategies for improving mobile user experience and increasing conversions on mobile devices? Especially in the United States, iPhone is the device, So it's iPhone first. It's not mobile first even.
Yeah, a lot of the issues that I see, and this might be on like early stage e-commerce stores more than others, is issues with stuff just like staying within the browser. There's a lot of issues with images being offset or clicking on something and it takes over, some funky experience. I would say really, really just dialing in what the expected user behavior there is with your images, with your dropdowns, with your buttons, with your selectors and stuff like that. And so if somebody's going to take the time to engage with something, particularly on mobile, make sure that it's working and make sure that it's optimized, as you said, for mobile first. And so we talk about drop downs, or we talk about sliders, or these things that as you're navigating the website on your phone, what are the actions you're doing with your thumbs and your fingers? Don't do something on a product page that requires somebody to jump back out of that and say, whoa, like I got to pinch here and then I got to click here, optimizing for an expected behavior that they would have on other websites on mobile, to remove any sort of those like unexpected conversion barriers there.
I will say, piggyback kind of, Sabir, on what you were saying and what Sean was saying too, is a lot of times brands, and I personally care a lot about sustainability. I like to buy a lot of products that are sustainable, clean ingredients, that sort of thing. By the time especially if I'm engaging on a mobile device, I don't need your full brand story on every single product page. I don't need to know that you're sustainable, you have clean ingredients. Like I don't need to lead into all of that before I write your lotion or before I read about your skincare or your lip products. I may get that from the homepage, or I may pick, a hamburger menu that says about our story, why we do what we do. You don't have to tell me on every single page while I'm trying to navigate on my iPhone in the car with my kids screaming in the background, your brand promise every single time on every single page. Now that may make sense for a desktop design where you have more real estate, someone may be engaging or spending more time on, but think about that as far as what is your expectations of people when they're trying to read what's happening on your mobile. They need to get as quick as they can to the product. If they want to spend time on it, they'll likely move to their desktop. So that's one of the things that I noticed specifically with ecom and like sustainability brands or people that have really like founder stories or those sorts of things. They just want to tell you about it on every single page. That doesn't work on mobile.
Yeah, well, it's better to actually deprioritize that. Like you don't have to tell it at the top of the page. It's prioritization of what they need to know. And start from that. Think of it like military, on need to know basis, right? This pixel that's going to render, do they need to know that? Yes or no? If the answer is no, it needs to be deprioritized. If you still want to tell that and you need it to have it on that page, deprioritize it all the way down, right?
Yep.
For example, the example you showed with the Lucky Orange with the GDPR, if that's really important, maybe that icon needs to belong like higher on the page, right? Versus something else that doesn't really need to belong to the top of the page, deprioritize and bring it down, and move it down. All right, so the next one is, can you discuss the importance of website speed and CRO? What tools and techniques can e-commerce businesses use to improve their site speed and minimize abandonment rates and bounce rates?
I will say, partnering with Shopify regularly, we constantly are getting our app analyzed and scrutinized for site speed. And are you guys, loading fast enough? Are you loading your thing? What we've chosen to do from an app standpoint is actually load our app asynchronously. So we let everything important on your page load, and then and our pixel comes through and starts tracking. I think it's important to anything you add to your website, whether it be a CRO tool, whether it be images, whether it be whatever, is tested for site speed. So don't just assume because it's a CRO tool, they have their stuff together and they're loading at an appropriate rate. Just because the stock image is available, or your product photographer said, oh, it's a, quality optimized. Don't believe them. You need to do your own testing and be very rigorous about that, and look for tools that load asynchronously. Look for images that truly are, and there's several tools you can get online, but that truly are optimized for web and web loading. I would say trust but verify, or maybe even better yet, trust no one, and just go out and do your own research on that. But those are some words or some things I would key in on. And I know personally it's a priority for us, just from our own tool standpoint, to constantly, we released a couple years ago an updated version of Lucky Orange, and it was 100 times faster than our previous version. That's important. You should look for apps and tools and images and everything that it contributes to that and is a priority for that. So that's something I would keep in mind as well.
Yeah, and I think that site speed is massive, as we've talked about several times now. You have such a limited attention span with people. And so one issue that I see people running into is they get really creative with animation or elements on their site that do look cool and may perform really well from a visual standpoint, but they are slowing down the site. And so being really, really careful if you're trying to do something beyond the basic image, video. Be careful with video. Video can be really, really great, but just make sure that the file types and the way you've loaded in the site follow best practices. I can't rally off like 12 best practices for compressing images and stuff, but I think the ultimate answer is that site speed is kind of like your health, where if you don't have it, nothing else really matters. And so if your site is loading really slowly, you've already lost somebody, or you've certainly lost a percentage of people. So that can kill everything else. So it needs to be a priority. And once you have that house in order, you can move on to some other optimization opportunities.
Yeah, once you clean that stuff up, the performance optimization and site speed, what happens is after, if you can bring it down under like 2 second mark, 2 seconds, or even 3 second mark, fully loaded, I mean, the first pixel needs to be there in under 1 second, right? Any second you add on top of that 2 seconds, like you're losing 30% of your conversion rate. 30% is a big number, That's why it's optimizing the images. And one actionable thing I would give, and even though we're in Q2 right now, I'll give for advice for Q4, right? If you have videos, if you don't need them, to get rid of them in Q4, right? Optimize the hell out of your images and videos, get rid of them. Once it's January 1st, you can bring it back. On December 26th, you can bring it back, right? But till then, you don't need videos, get rid of them, because it hinders that conversion, and that's where you want that conversion to be there, So that's a definite advice. So next one, what role does personalization play in CRO for e-com sites? How can businesses leverage customer data to create targeted, personalized experiences that drive conversions?
I think the answer really depends on where you're at in your business growth journey. I'm a firm believer that more is more. And so as soon as you start personalizing, you have more personalized segments to keep up with and to optimize. And so we've talked a lot about optimizing the website, but if you for different audience segments, but if you introduce personalized experiences, those are more things to continue optimizing. I think that AI in the future may play a role in making this a lot more accessible for people. I think that you can do some really lightweight personalization for things like return visitors, return buyers, but I would hesitate to encourage people, unless they have the framework underneath it to support it internally, to go down the path of saying, we think that personalization can be our growth lever and can really unlock that scale for us. There are probably really, really good ways to do it, but I've seen a lot of people get in over their heads with paying for personalization tools, which can be extremely expensive, and not really knowing what to do with it, or trying to deploy some personalization stuff and not really seeing a return, but they're down that path and they just have to keep going. So I don't want to be doom and gloom, but that's just kind of been what I've been seeing with people that have tried to do it. I think there's obvious opportunity to dial in personalization and really go as close to one-to-one as you can possibly get in the dream world. But, I think we just have to be really realistic when we think about personalization.
I will say on that note too, I think there's kind of like I mentioned with chat earlier, where it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? You don't have to go all in and have this super robust. Things like recommended products, like that can be a way to personalize an experience on the website. If you know that people traditionally buy jeans, also buy your t-shirts, that's a good way to personalize an experience on there. So it doesn't have to be all or nothing. The example I gave earlier too about personalizing Facebook ads, if you will, as far as that people coming to your site on Facebook are actually more interested in the pink fuzzy chair, but you've been pushing the blue fuzzy chair. Take that information that by segmenting about what they're buying on your website and personalize those Facebook ads to highlight the pink fuzzy chair instead of the blue fuzzy chair. So I think there's ways, and personalization gets this bad rap of being this super complex, super heavy layered thing. There's ways and subtle ways you can do that without undertaking this whole mass strategy and continuing to maintain it.
What are some of the best practices on effective use of A/B testing in ecom?
Well, one, and I'm going to be Mr. Doom and Gloom again, is a lot of people start A/B testing and they don't have nearly enough traffic to have it make sense. So what I mean by that is you'll deploy an A/B test, you'll make a change, you might even make a large change, and you'll wait 3 months to get to statistical significance to be able to make any sort of confident optimization based on that. A/B testing is great. It's similar to personalization, but not quite as, difficult necessarily. It's pretty approachable to run A/B tests. What I encourage people to do, especially towards the earlier part, maybe even towards the middle part of a growth journey, is to use tools like ours to find that qualitative data to back up a change. And sure, maybe you release that change just to make sure, or you test that change just to see how some people react and watch more session recordings to say, are people engaging with this description in a different way? But I really would caution against just, again, going after A/B testing as this lever that you can pull that leads to growth, unless you have the traffic to support it. If you have the traffic to support it, then I think you use tools like ours to build your hypothesis and say, okay, we think that people are, let's go back to Molly's thing from Facebook ads. We see that people are coming from these Facebook ads and they're dropping down and they're buying this product that's down here. Okay, well, we can optimize the creative and maybe send them to that different product instead. But what if we move this product up and make it more of a bundled option up top, as opposed to offering products like this at the bottom? That could be a great A/B test based on the data that you've seen within session recordings and heat maps. And so TLDR, use Lucky Orange to build your hypothesis. If you don't have enough traffic to support testing, just make the change, and over time get more and more confident and accurate. And a word that Sabir has used before with me is be surgical with it. Don't just make wholesale changes because you feel like it. Be surgical with it based on that data and the hypothesis that you build. If you do have enough data to support it, again, still build that hypothesis, but then you can go into testing.
We have a really strong, sorry, Sabir. I was just going to say, we have a really strong integration with Optimizely that we've recently released. And we actually see a lot of people coming to us from Optimizely and said, I spend thousands and thousands of dollars a month on this A/B testing platform. Like, it's really expensive. They like tools like a Lucky Orange, and kind of the question earlier about like the difference between Lucky Orange and Hotjar. Why would you go invest in another tool that you have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars in a month? A tool like Lucky Orange is at a price point where if A/B testing is something, a part of your journey, you're getting enough traffic to justify it, you don't want to have to go spend another $3,000 a month on another tool. Lucky Orange is a nice complement to that to help you build the hypothesis to make your investment in a platform like Optimizely worthwhile.
Yeah, I mean, that advice, what I wanted to add on was the A/B testing, Sean, what you just said, the numbers matter, right? I mean, if you have 1,000 people visiting that product page and you want to do an A/B test, okay, A/B means I might, if I divide that into 500 and 500 and then run a test to see if I deprioritize some things, prioritize some things, something is bold, something is orange button versus a green button, stuff like that, that's meaningful. I would be able to do something actionable with that. But in total, if you let's cut out 10. It's 100 people on that page. 50 of them do this and 50 of them do that, right? Now you know that what the drop-off point is from the product views to add to cart, right? You're not going to get anything significant out of that number, right? That's why I think that having a good number to throw at it, like sometimes if your mailing list is good, if you want to do a campaign to throw that much traffic to that page, right, where you're running the test, it might be a good advice to do that, right? But don't run unqualified traffic to it. Like, don't run a new Facebook ads campaign because it's going to send 10,000 people to that page, right? It's unqualified traffic. They have nothing to do with your business, right? And then try to study it. You might get a completely the wrong signal and and the wrong impression of what the results are, and you might decide on a solution that you thought was a winner is actually garbage. It's not even the right decision. So I think that's a great advice. Even A/B testing with accounts matters when it comes to like when you're running Facebook ads. Even though Facebook allows you to do so many different ads that you can put in there, but then your budget is $25 a day, right? Are you going to have anything significant in there to support the algorithm to pick up on the fact you're running 5 different variations of your ad, right? It's not going to give it that much of a value there. It's better to actually run it short term and give it more traffic so that the algorithm can run it against those many variations to decide which one is the winner, based on that. So let's go with one more. Let me pick something that's really good.
And Tim, just while Sabir's looking for that, I saw your question in the chat. Sean and I are both available on LinkedIn. If you want to DM us on LinkedIn, that's probably the best way. Or we have some contact forms on luckyorange.com that you can reach out to us there too. We monitor both of those.
Thank you for that, Molly. So can you share some tips? This will be our final one. So can you share some tips for creating compelling CTAs that drive conversions? How can businesses optimize the placement, design, and copy of their CTAs? I mean, I could write a whole book on this one.
Please do.
I want to understand your POV on this. Is it orange button? Is it green? Is it purple?
Yeah.
What happens when you have a gray button?
The button color thing, gets like, sorry for the language, but gets shit on. But it is like a decent test. It has to be visible. Specifically when we talk about mobile, the button has to be visible. And I don't just mean does it have a contrast color. What I mean is when you're above the fold, when you scroll, when you click on something, when you move something, the button has to be visible. Back to like the original sin of a website not being usable is like, can they find what they want, but also can they find the button to click and check out and buy the thing? If they can't do that, the words on the button don't matter. The words on the button, though, have to make sense. And there's a space and time for a compelling piece of combination of words on a button. But I usually lean towards something that just makes sense for the action that's going to happen when you click it. We're not trying to mislead people and trick people into adding to cart, because if you trick somebody into adding something to cart, they're not going to buy it. Like, you want them to genuinely say, I want this thing. What's my next step? Click the button and go in. So buy now, order now, check out, whatever the word might be, is something that has to make sense and align with the journey that you've taken them on to that point to get them through.
I agree. I think what Sean and we've kind of had some experience on a similar thing is we were looking at website copy, even copy with inside of Lucky Orange, and saying some of it's too fanciful, right? Like too playful and fun. And maybe you're selling like these really cool sneakers and you have this very playful language you use as the rest of the part of your brand. This is not the time and the place for fanciful, whimsical, whatever you may call it, joking. That is the time and place for very direct. People want to know what they're getting when they're getting it. And the CTA is not the time and the place to really let that brand personality shine through. It's to help people buy your product.
And to put a pin in that, I would say ads sell clicks and product pages sell products. Product pages sell conversions. And so on the ad, sure, use that language that's cool messaging, that's interesting, that hooks the person to say, become the better version of yourself. The product page can lean into that more, but then the button itself should really be concise and get people in line with the action that's going to happen after they click it.
I mean, I'll share from my experience, one brand that I came across where the brand was so into their language, including on the CTAs. So they didn't want to say add to cart. They wanted to say add to bag, right? Mm-hmm. And even the icon for it was not like a plus with it or a shopping cart. They wanted to do like a very fancy bag, right? As soon as I eliminated all of that, conversion rate went up by 60%. Like, why are you you don't have billions of dollars to train the consumer on your brand. Amazon already did that. Apple did it. TikTok did it. Instagram Reels did it. All these apps have trained the consumers on what to look out for, the language of e-commerce, right? And if you try to do something like, they understand place order, they understand proceed to checkout, right? They understand that language. But if you try to be playful with that, you're literally playing with money, right? Mm-hmm. Meaning that you're losing it, and don't be like that. If there is a language that the consumer just gets it and understands it, stick with that. But other places you can be playful with your brand and tell your brand story and brand colors. Like if your brand color is gray, don't change all of the CTA buttons to gray. Gray means disabled button. Doesn't mean that it's actionable, It's just human psychology, right? So those are the kind of things that you have to be very careful with that, Molly and Sean, thank you so much for joining us and sharing Lucky Orange as a platform. To me, like I said, a tool like a platform like Lucky Orange, I'm a kid in a candy store. This is why one of the tools that I can attribute to that has helped me increase and deliver incremental revenue of $1 billion for ecom brands over the years. And because ecom gives you so much data, right? You just have to be smart about the data that you're gathering, and every consumer behavior is data. Mm-hmm. They're literally telling you. And I love the fact, one of the highlights of this presentation was you can ask them, you can survey them, and they'll tell you one thing, and then but when you watch them, their behavior tells a different story. Reminds me of the book by Paco Underhill, Why Do They Buy, right? Because like when you ask people, do they recycle? Everybody says yes. But when you put a camera on a tree and you watch them, you see that it's only like 30% of them that actually do it. And totally. Lucky Orange is one of those tools where you can actually literally watch exactly what they're doing. And based on the positive behavior, you enhance that and you make that part of the entire group. And that's where you're gonna get that increase in revenue. So I want to thank you for being here and sharing your knowledge and insights and taking all these questions and my tough questions too.
Sabir, it's been a pleasure as always.
Thanks, Sabir.
All right, and thank you, audience, for tuning in. And if you're not part of the community, I've actually shared the link earlier. You can go in and check us out. The link is also on growthbysabir.com. You can find the link there to join the community. And thank you very much, everyone. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Okay, bye-bye.